So for anyone who hasn't been watching any of the videos, I'm Katie. I am the dog enrichment volunteer coordinator with the shelter. And I have my foster dog, Bowie, here with me to try this new activity. So I will tell you that this is the first time that Bowie has ever done this activity. So it may go over really well, or it may go over really poorly. It just depends on how much he likes this activity. But it's also an opportunity for you guys to see that if a dog has never done an activity, you could get a variant of responses, and that's okay. If a dog really likes an activity, add it into the rotation. If a dog hates an activity, don't do it again. If a dog isn't unsure, it just means that you can kind of try it a couple of times until maybe they get the hang of it. So today's activity is the towel shuffle. So what you're going to need is just some kind of towel and some kind of treats, which, as you can tell, Bowie's very excited about the treats piece. I know that there are some dogs that are really not treat motivated, and that's okay. If you have a dog who really likes a particular toy, or even just meal times, this is how you can do meal times to kind of make it a little bit more interactive. For this particular activity, since it is Bowie's first time, I'm actually going to be using some really high value treats, mainly so that he understands that it is meant to be fun. And these particular treats smell terrible, which means that he can smell them through the towel, which hopefully will help enhance his ability to actually do this activity. The other thing I want to let you know is that some dogs, when they do this activity, they really kind of get into it and will actually take the towel and shake it in order to just have the treats scatter everywhere. That's okay. Again, if they scatter, they're still using their sense of smell to find where the food is. But an alternative could be, you could also use a yoga mat, which is heavier and it will be harder for them to pick up and shake out the treats. So just know that you can progress in what you're using to make it a little bit more challenging. So since this is Bowie's first time, I'm going to show you guys how to kind of intro the game, and then different ways that you can kind of make it a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to grab my treats. Okay, Bo, you gotta wait. So I'm going to make him wait. Again, it's kind of like a training type activity. So he's going to wait until I have the activity ready and set up. So the first thing I want to do, since this is a new activity for Bowie, I want to make it really easy. So the first thing I want to do is just get him used to smelling and understanding he needs to smell on the towel in order to get what he wants. So I'm just going to set it down and I'm going to make it kind of have some wrinkles in it, but not a lot. So it's still going to be somewhat flat and easy for him to find the treats. And since this part will be a lot more easy for him, I'm using treats that are probably a little less high value because he doesn't have to wait. He doesn't have to work as hard in order to get them. So you want some that will be in kind of flatter spots. Some you probably want in a little bit more wrinkly of a spot, just so that they kind of get acclimated to what they're supposed to be doing. So when I have this initial set up, I'm going to release him so that he can get whatever he wants out of this towel. Okay. Again, this is a lot of the sensory for him to actually be smelling for the activity, but also because the towel is a different texture, that adds a different component. There are different layers to it, so parts of it are flat, parts of it are bumpy, so there's a little bit of extra stimulation. So at this point, he's eaten all the treats that I have laid out, which indicates to me that he understands that he needs to smell for the various different ones. So the next step to make this a little bit more challenging is I'm gonna make it a lot more crunched so that he has to kind of really get into the nooks and crannies that I'm gonna create. So Bowie, go to your place. Okay, I want you to wait. So in this case, I'm just gonna really kind of bunch it up so that things are gonna be a little bit more hidden. And at this point, I'm gonna use still not the highest value of treats, but I'm still gonna use treats that I used in the first round, but I'm adding a little bit more higher value treats in there because this one's gonna be a little bit more difficult for him to be able to get. So a few I'm going to set that are still easy for him to get at, then I'm gonna stick some in harder to reach places just because I want him to have to work for it a little bit more. And make sure that you do use all the surfaces, so even the ones that you probably can't see, make sure that you get that in. So again, I'm just raising the bar a little bit more for him. Okay. So really depending on your specific needs for your dog, you can make this as challenging or as easy as you want it to be. And again, if you have a dog who isn't super food motivated, that's okay. Again, if they have a toy that they really like, you can add that in, and that will probably work better for the next step that I'm going to show you. Or even just their daily feeding. If you know that they're going to eat once a day, you can throw their food in there just so that they have to work at it a little bit more. Good boy. And I think that he's gotten it all, but I'm not sure. Okay, go to your place. Okay, so the last step is actually taking the towel, and mine's a little big, so I'm gonna fold it in half a little bit more, but actually taking the towel and layering food along the towel and rolling it up so that they have to basically figure out how to unroll. Since this portion is going to be much more challenging, I'm going to make high value stinky treats be the end reward. And hopefully he'll stay in place. I do have a bone that I'm going to reward him at the very end because he likes those. But basically at the very end, you want to put a lot of treats because that will be what we refer to as their jackpot. That's like their ultimate reward that you've hit the very end. So I'm going to scoot this down so you can see that. So I just put a lot of treats at the very end. Sit. And then basically you just start rolling it up. And it doesn't have to be a tight roll. You can make it kind of loose. Just make sure that as you are rolling it, that you're adding treats along the way, because you don't want it to be a particular section that they don't get any kind of reward, because chances are they're going to stop rolling at that point. So again, you just kind of spread the treats out and just roll it up. Now, when I hit the very end, I'm going to roll this around here. When I hit the very end, I still want to add some extra goodie treats to kind of get them going. And I would say tuck a few kind of under the first initial roll so that they have to naturally try to sniff with their nose and they'll be knocking into it. All right, when you think that you're ready to go, you can go ahead and call your dog over to kind of get them started. And I'm going to try to turn this sideways, that way Bowie doesn't kind of get in front of the camera. Okay. And I will try to adjust the camera if need be. If you have the towel on kind of like a carpeted surface, it'll probably be a little bit easier in the sense that it's not going to be moving around as much as maybe on like a wood or a tile. But it also can be harder if they're trying to like spin it over. And again, as they start to get towards the end, there are going to be still numerous treats, but maybe a little bit more spread out until the very end when, again, they're going to hit their jackpot. That's when they get their full reward of the work that they put into it. And if you have a dog that really likes toys, this is where you can put those toys. You can actually do it for the roll-up piece. Because as they unroll, they can get a different toy. They may stop and start playing with that toy, and that's totally okay. And then they might come back and keep rolling it to see what other prizes are in there. This is also where you can use the yoga mat instead. So if this becomes too easy for them, or again, if the dog's picking it up and just shaking all the treats out, and you don't want them to do that, you can try the yoga mat instead because it's, again, harder for them to like pick up and just kind of shake out. And unfortunately, he's hit a spot where something is in his way, so now he's got to work even harder to kind of get to what he really wants. Again, a lot of these activities aren't meant to take up too much time. It's just to give them some problem solving and just kind of mental stimulation, even if it's just for a short period of time. And I will tell you, as soon as we're done with this activity, chances are he'll still be looking for treats, but he'll probably conk out for probably like a good half hour just because he's doing something that is a little different. And he clearly has gotten the bone. So if you have any questions about this activity, feel free to let me know. Thank you guys all for participating and for sharing the videos and your photos. It's really fun to see how different dogs do with different activities. As I mentioned before, if you do have a dog that has some special needs, please do let us know. I know, like I said, some people were mentioning that dogs aren't necessarily food or toy motivated. So we are kind of looking to see what other activities we can start to kind of incorporate to give those dogs different kinds of activities as well. So just make sure to put those in there. That way we can kind of sort of look at our curriculum and see how we can work to help you guys adapt it. So thank you guys all for joining this afternoon, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
The boat would be fun.
She's supposed to unroll it. Good girl. There you go.
Did you get cilantro and parsley, or is this
Just parsley.
Oh, but it's Italian parsley, so.
Good wait, buddy. Alright. You ready? Wait. Wait. Okay. Good boy. Definitely sniffing. You unrolled it all at once. One big nose push, huh?
We're executing a search warrant on the puzzle master.